would like to call the May 6th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Cicero Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Ms. Robeson, please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia?
Here.
Ms. Luckett? Here. Mr. Suarez?
Here.
Mr. Mays?
Here.
Mr. Stanton?
Here. Please take note of the fire exits located in the front and the rear of this room. At this time, please silence all cell phones and pagers. Please note that tonight's meeting is being streamed on YouTube and is also being recorded. At this time, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Has everyone read the minutes of the April 1st, 2024 meeting? Are there any corrections? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the April 2024 minutes.
Okay, by Mr. Mays. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, by Mr. Rabia. When you're ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia?
Yes to the motion.
Ms. Luckett?
I wasn't here, so I abstain.
Mr. Suarez?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Mays?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes to the motion. The Cicero Town Board acknowledges the importance of full public participation at all public meetings. And therefore, we urge all who wish to address those in attendance to please come to the microphone located at the front of the room. At this time, I will make a motion that all actions taken tonight are type 2 actions and have a negative impact that is no impact on the environment unless otherwise indicated. Do I have a second?
Second,
By Ms. Luckett. When you're ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia?
Yes to the motion.
Ms. Luckett?
yes to the motion.
Mr. Suarez?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Mays?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes to the motion. We have proof that all items on tonight's agenda have been advertised as directed by law. I'll briefly review the process for tonight's meeting for the benefit of those present that have never been before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Each applicant will have an opportunity to describe their project. The board will then ask questions about the project. I will then open a public hearing where people will be able to speak for or against the proposed variance. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to respond to public input and provide additional information. Board members will also be allowed to ask follow-on questions. The board will openly discuss amongst ourselves the 5 factors that contribute to the final decision. Please note that this board does not have a pre-agenda meeting, so there is no prior discussion of cases outside of this meeting. And then finally, a motion will be made either approving or denying the requested variance, seconded and voted upon. Our first case and only case tonight is an application for a property on 5542 Catherine Road. The owner is John Baldini. Sir, if you would, please come up and address the board. Good evening. If you wouldn't mind describing your project and the reason for it.
It is basic and simple. There's a current 40 by 26 structure there. I'm looking to add on to the back to go another 26 feet deep and keep the original width of 26, I think 0.2. The walls are going a little higher. They're going to a 12-foot height. I believe the other ones are about an 8-foot height. Will be sided to match the current building that's there. There'll be vinyl siding. Other than that, well, that's basically about it.
Just out of curiosity, since this is basically a standalone property, do you own any land next to, adjacent to?
No, I only own what the survey showed.
Okay.
It was obviously, it looks like it was split prior to me buying it, but that's what was sold to me back in 2019.
Do you have power in this garage?
I do.
What are you gonna do inside of it?
I have a couple classic cars and a boat, pretty much for storage. I live on Horseshoe Island Road in Clay. So when I built my house there, I was restricted. I would have liked to put it up on my own property, but then the reason why I bought it, because it was a standalone for some more storage for me, and it was kind of close to where I am, so.
So you do work on the garage, work on the classic cars in the garage? That's the
I
plan.
do, I do maybe oil changes, basic stuff. I don't really have a desire to waste my time doing all that kind of stuff. I prefer to drive them.
Chuck, did we hear this garage case? I don't remember hearing this. The initial garage, not this one.
No, I don't think this has been around for
'Cause it's
a while.
It's non-res use, right?
It's, no, it's not. It's really non-residential use and it's kind of a
That's what I'm
legacy
saying. It's-
property.
It's non-res in an ag, right?
That's right.
Which means there's a whole laundry list of
That's correct.
issues, right?
The only thing I could surmise, and the records don't reflect it necessarily, that either there was the same ownership at one time of both parcels and this garage was accessory, even though it may have been on a separate lot, or the land was transferred or separated at some point. Because if you look at this garage and that house, they kind of the same color. I think they had the same siding. Isn't that right? They look like they went together. But again, this goes back. McCaffin Road's an old road. Our records really don't reflect that.
I'm just trying to figure, I mean, because we have lot covered, lot
Well,
area, right?
yeah, so
Are you
you
gonna
have-
get, are you gonna get into it or no?
Well, no, you want, let's discuss it now if we're going to, because the list that I came up with, and maybe you can
I mean,
cross-check me on it.
Lot area, building line, side,
Yeah,
rear, obviously, who we're talking about. I didn't calculate coverage, but, we're probably, well, since we don't have the area, we probably don't have the coverage. Maybe the coverage is fine, but, whatever.
I did check with the coverage with
Okay.
Steve, and I do believe it's just a little bit under. I think 1,700 rings maybe a bell. So between what's on there and what was proposed.
Okay.
Should be pretty close and not over.
I don't know, what did I miss, Chuck? I mean,
did you get the side yard, the rear yard,
I
and,
said side, rear, building line, lot area,
and the use is not,
and I guess the use, yeah.
yeah, I
I
agree.
think we have a lot
with
of
what you-
things that I don't think we advertise it as such, right? I mean,
Well, are we saying that I mean, you have an existing non-conforming use?
I guess it's a question of,
Yeah.
like we've talked about before,
Yeah.
do we want to expand on existing non-conforming?
Yeah, that's what I felt in reviewing this was that the primary question is, it's a existing nonconformity. And just like the advertisement says, do we want to approve the expansion of it or not?
I guess the challenge I have is it's so grossly, there's so many things that we're infringing upon, even with the existing garage. Adding this addition makes it worse, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I had similar concerns, especially considering that I just drove through there this afternoon. It doesn't really look like there's any similar examples of this on the street.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know the history of the
I don't know
lot.
of any, no.
Yeah,
Any other questions, folks? I mean, in my mind, so what we're usually charged with is minimizing the requested variance. And in this case, to me at least, it's somewhat cut or dry because this is either do we allow a nonconformity or do we allow the expansion of a nonconformity or do we not? So if anybody feels differently than that, now's the time to ask questions about whether this addition could be possibly squeezed down a little bit to cut down on the rear yard.
I guess that would almost be a question for you. Would be like, it's right now you have it at 26 feet. I'm not sure what you're planning on using that space for, so I don't know if it's,
Personal use.
yeah, no, and that's fine, and I don't mean it like that, but I mean, would it be,
Well, let's just say, look, if I don't have any choice, I prefer the 26. 'cause
Right.
To be honest with you, I'm trying to utilize, obviously, I did the calculation close because I figure I have the lot. I might as well get as much building as I can, right? Because you can always use the extra space.
sure,
But if we have to come to some sort of compromise,
yeah,
I'd
that's
be
what
willing-
I'm getting at.
I would be willing to talk about that.
maybe we should start talking. I mean, I don't see I don't see a path for compromise, but that's just
Yeah.
my opinion. So,
Yeah, I think it's more of a binary choice
Right.
myself. Do we allow it or do we not? Would you like me to go to the public hearing while you guys ponder a little bit more or?
Sure.
So at this time, I will open the public hearing. Would anyone speak for this? Good, sir.
I'm a neighbor that's directly back of this property.
Could you state your name and your address, please?
David Victoria, 592 Tagus Lane, Roverton.
Yep.
First of all, it's a very well-maintained property. Really don't see a problem with it. It really butts up against my fence, but there's going to be enough leeway between the fence and the back of your property, correct? How many feet?
24.
You know, there's never any noise. You know, I never have heard a car repair. I think he's just basically storing. I have nothing against it. That property used to all be one, the house next to it. And it was sold, and then that seller split that property. So it used to, the house and the garage. But I just don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay,
All
I
right?
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak for this? Would anyone speak against this? This time I will close the public hearing.
I mean, I think the fact that when they split the garage off that property, they made a really weird situation, right? Where, you know, a bunch of different things, as we discussed, just don't meet the code, right? And I think adding more to the garage that doesn't already meet the code is, in my opinion, not a wise decision, but it's my opinion.
That I share that opinion also, and I would just like to note that the whole point of the existing non-conforming piece of the state law and the town code is to phase these out over time. My personal opinion is that allowing an expansion of this just kind of precipitates continuance of that into the future.
I don't know, what do you guys, I mean, what do the rest of you guys think? I don't want to,
Yeah, I would prefer to have some discussion about this before we.
I'm in agreement with you guys that we shouldn't expand.
I personally think that we should not penalize the new section. He bought the land the way it was. And I know that's not, it could be an argument both ways, but he bought it the way it was. It was split years ago. So do we want to penalize the new owner for something that was done before this? That's my only argument. My only concern is like, I don't want to penalize the new owner. That's all.
I'm kind of in a similar place as well with that. I think the fact that it's non-conforming currently is no fault of yours. But I also understand that we are trying to phase out non-conforming and expanding and non-conforming is kind of the opposite of that. I will say though, the fact that the neighbor behind that this potentially would impact the most is it's encroaching on their property line. The fact that you don't have any issue with it, that does weigh a little bit on my decision as well.
Okay. So what I would say at this point, in terms of making a motion that since the board split on this, that it wouldn't be fair to go ahead with just a straight out denial, and that we should allow the members a chance to vote. So someone who feels strongly about approving this, I would appreciate that person make a motion, discuss the 5 factors. We could talk about the merits and then have an up or down vote. The reason being is that if I were to push a motion to deny,
yeah, that's
it
fair.
would be,
Makes sense.
it would be done regardless.
I think the only comment though, Jeremy, to your point is you bought the property, you know, eyes wide open to the situation that it was in, right? So
Sure, yeah.
absolutely a self-created situation, right?
So would someone like to review the 5 factors and make a motion?
You know, I don't have the 5 factors in front of me. Okay. So you just read it.
So. Yes, start at the top.
For him. Number 1, whether undesirable change will be produced in character of neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. Because the neighbors here, I'm gonna say no. My reason again, don't want to penalize the new owner. Even though, as the board have said, we're trying to be away from non-compliance. However, again, having the neighbors saying, we don't mind, we're okay with it. I don't see an issue with that one. Number 2,
Aren't we?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We can, go right ahead.
I'm comfortable with talking about we're veering away from this or that, because that's not really what we're doing. We're going over the 5 factors and that's it. Then make your decision. Does the benefit, you know, to the applicant outweigh the neighbor?
Okay,
So
so
I think
noted.
if we keep it just focused on that, we're a lot better than talking about what opinions are and the fact that we're trying to do away with these types of non-conforming uses, which you're not a legislative body, so you can't do that anyways. So,
Point taken. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah.
Everyone, please follow that instruction.
Are we gonna go through and
We
comment?
are going to go through and comment. Yes.
Ready for that? Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Rabia?
Yes, so whether undesirable change will reduce the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties are created, I don't believe that's the case, so I'm in agreement with.
Ms. Luckett?
I disagree. I think allowing an oversized garage in a residential neighborhood where there's no similar oversized garages as a primary use is a detriment to the character of the neighborhood.
Mr. Mays?
I agree with Mr. Suarez that it would not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood.
Mr. Stanton?
I would disagree. This, at least in my opinion, this property is located in a primarily residential neighborhood, allowing a expansion of this nonconformity just more, well, it enlarges the garage, which is not a residential structure. It's not an accessory to a principal use on that property.
I want to revisit mine. As I'm listening, I misspoke. It will create an undesirable change based on the fact that we're making a larger garage in a neighborhood full of homes. So I was thinking about it from a different perspective, but that's right.
Thank you.
Number 2, whether benefits sold by applicant can be achieved by feasible alternative to the variance. The owner said that he's willing to make compromises on the size. I think we should probably visit that as well. I don't see why we couldn't consider to make it smaller so it does not affect the neighborhood look, if that's what we're looking at.
I don't think there's any way where we can achieve the goals without a area variance.
I would agree. I mean, any expansion of the garage increases or expands the non-conforming use.
Mr. Mays?
I think that, yeah, I would agree with what Ms. Luckett said. Regardless here, you would need an area.
Mr. Stanton?
I agree that, let me phrase that correctly. I believe the answer to that is no, citing the same reasons as my fellow board members.
Number 3, whether the request variance is substantial. Substantial. I'm gonna come back to that one. Don't wait. Or do I need to answer first?
you-
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I
um,
think you gotta give your opinion and then we can agree or disagree.
It is substantial. It is an addition, 26 feet by 12. So
Mr. Rabia,
I agree. Yeah, but we're approaching almost 50% of the rear setback, so it's substantial.
Ms. Luckett,
I agree, it's substantial.
Mr. Mays,
Yeah, I think 50% is substantial.
Mr. Stanton.
I agree.
number 4, would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? I'm gonna say yes, it will. It's a neighborhood. It'll make a big change.
Mr. Rabia,
This is the one I was thinking about earlier. I was confusing the two in my mind. I don't know that it would have a big effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. So I'm gonna say no, I believe.
Ms. Luckett,
I guess I would agree with Mark on that one, that there would be no effect on the physical or environmental.
Mr. Mays,
I would agree that it would not have an adverse impact on the physical. You may have some storm water runoff off the roof of those that's being concentrated a little bit, but I think by and large, it is not going to have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions.
Mr. Stanton.
I would agree that the answer to that is no.
Number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, being that he purchased the land the way it is and he wants to add it, it is self-created. So it's a
Miss-
yes.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree, but I do want to note that the answer to this question is not necessarily a reason to deny the variance. So with that, are you prepared to make a motion, or would you like to talk to the applicant a little bit more?
I'm good.
Okay. When you're ready.
I would like to make a motion on behalf of John Baldini, 5542 Clifton Road, Zone AG, an area variance to allow the expansion of non-conforming garage, where a proposed 26 by 26 addition has a rear yard setback of 24.5 feet, where a minimum distance of 50 is required. No to the motion.
I
Yeah,
will
we need a second.
I will second the motion.
Ready for a vote?
Yes, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia,
You confused me a little bit at the end. I want to make sure I heard you. You made a motion to approve it, right? He made a motion.
You
to-
made a motion.
I
to
second it.
Yeah, okay, second, okay.
But for the record, keep going what you're saying, because I'm confused too.
Well,
Was it a motion to approve or deny?
You made a
Yeah,
motion to.
you made a motion to
Yes,
approve,
I
right?
apologize.
But you
Yeah,
said no to
no.
the motion at the end. I want to make sure
I apologize for that.
Okay, all right. So you made a motion to approve the variance. Got it. Okay. You ready? So I'm gonna say no to the motion, and I think it's because of the expansion of expansion of the non-conforming structure and the amount of non-conformities there are in the existing structure.
Ms. Luckett,
No to the motion.
Mr. Suarez,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Mays,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Stanton.
No to the motion. Motion is denied. So our next meeting is scheduled for June 3rd, Monday. Is there any other business before the board?
think so.
Okay, there being no other business before the board, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mays, do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Rabia, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night.